Future viewers, please make yourselves comfortable. This is gonna be a long one. Not this session necessarily, but the game overall. Well, I'll avoid talking over the intro, although I will have some things to say afterwards.
A fierce battle with Dark Dragon ensued when the Runefaust army invaded. With the heroics of Max and the Shining Force, Dark Dragon was defeated. The victors returned to their normal lives, vowing for renewed peace. Some disappeared, some left for further adventure, and some returned to their homes and families. And Anri returned to her kingdom as the Queen of Guardiana. With help from Ken, Luke, and Lo, they rebuilt the kingdom from the ashes of the Runefaust invasion.
That guy kinda reminded me of the narrator from King's Quest V.
Sonic, software planning.
Welcome to Shining Force CD. Well, right at the start, we have an improvement. We don't have to deal with that super high-pitched text noise every time we start or end a session. I like that. Well, we can pick either of the two chapters of the Gaiden series that we got on Game Gear. I'm gonna be a maverick and start with the first one. From now on, I'm gonna go with the default names, after my experience with saying Max every time the screen had my channel name. That's not something I want to repeat. Difficulty needs a little explanation. The effects of the first three are not well known. I couldn't find any solid info on them, except that it might affect the AI or frequency of enemy double attacks and such. We do know that Super Hard increases enemy attack by 25%. That's also a thing that can happen in Shining Force 2, and I'll go into more detail about that later. Right now, I'm gonna stick with Hard. That's something I do in a lot of games, one level below the hardest. That's just where my level of comfort is. It would have been nice to have a chance to walk around town, find out what's been changed in Guardiana and what hasn't, but we don't get to do that. Remember how I said that Shining Force is pretty nice about not hurting the townspeople? Well, I forgot one addendum to it. That doesn't apply to guards. Shining Force 1 also had this, although it was implied. When you came back from the second battle, your hometown had a lot fewer knights than it did when you left. Later games are more explicit about this sort of thing. Excuse me. Oh, I don't think that's a great idea, Ken. I don't think that he is. I mean, I didn't even give him that many levels in Shining Force 1. Now that's a good guy face if I've ever seen one. Jokes aside, though, as usual, the portrait artwork is startlingly good. I don't think I've ever heard of a Shining Force game that doesn't have exceptional art. Edmund the Reluctant. That's a pretty unusual title. Uh-huh. Yeah, the story of Shining Force CD is not very kind to Henri. Well, those are not the main character soldiers, so yeah, they don't even get an animated cutscene or anything. Well, they've sent their best, they've sent their brightest and bravest. So now they're stuck with us. Now, if I was in any way involved in the writing... Oh no. Oh no, we have another Hans, don't we? Oh, please tell me that's not true. I don't know if I can take it. Not after the last one. As I was saying, if I was involved in the writing of this, I would have maybe made these people a little bit more misfit-ish. Like, I would like to make it very clear why these people were not considered as part of the first wave. I think that would have made it more fun. I think Wendy's the only person of these five who's not related to anyone in the original Shining Force. At least not explicitly. Maybe he can handle a sword, but he only ever uses spears. And now we've heard most of the characterization of our starting party. In fact, pretty much all of it. So, yeah, the same as Shining Force 1 in that regard. Except even less inspiring than Shining Force 1 because now it looks like kind of a lazy copy-paste sort of thing. That's not very impressive. I mean, I don't play Shining Force for the story very much, and I suspect others don't either, but still, even by that standard, this is not a great start. If someone saw this and then decided to just drop the game, I wouldn't blame them. That being said, I'm going to take this as far as it'll go and see if things improve any. Because I've heard differing things. I've heard that this is a great Shining Force game. I've also heard that this is the worst Shining Force game. As for where the truth is, I don't know. We're gonna find out. Cyprus doesn't seem like the usual ominous bad guy country name. So that's a little bit odd, at least. Well, the chapters don't even have names in this game. They needed to hire more or better writers. Or maybe the Game Gear version didn't... No, I can't even blame it on that. That'd be silly. Oh, now you're asking for it. This is Shining Force and you're on a boat, and we've already seen what that means. Ooh, you got some sass on you. I like that. In fact, the more Saturday morning cartoonish you are, the better, as far as I'm concerned. Well, let's take a look at what we got as soon as we have a turn. Well, say what you want about the Guardiana army, but they still know how to make decent gear. The steel swords especially, those used to be promotion weapons. And of course, the battle axe is very strong. Like, 28 is a monstrous attack power for this point in the game. Also, everyone has protect rings, and in Shining Force 1 I wasn't even able to find one of those. So from that alone, we can guess that we're not going to hold on to this gear. These enemies are also a little bit more advanced than we would normally face at level 1. And because of that, if this were a run that allowed grinding, which it's not, I could use egress and grind right here until everyone is ready for promotion. That would be extremely boring. So that's why I think no grind runs tend to be the best. Oh, I should check the enemies too. Huge bats, they can still put you to sleep. Every game they show up in, they can put you to sleep. I don't know why the designers thought we'd be nostalgic over that, but whatever. Now the Incubus. Those are going to be a little bit of a challenge. I may have Protect Rings to deal with attack power, but my hit point totals are still level 1 hit points, so Blaze is going to be very damaging For example, that's 2/3 of Bruce's health, and he's supposed to be a tank. Even Apis might not be able to handle 2 of those. So I gotta be careful around them. And in particular, I want to stay away from the railing here, otherwise the Incubus will stay along the top attack from range and I won't be able to counterattack with a whole lot of people. Same goes on the other side too, so I want to stick around the middle whenever I can. Also, it's pretty bold of this game to not give me any kind of priest character at the start. Instead I have a monk who has 2 heal spells, but I do have plenty of healing herbs to start, so it's not too bad. Also, one thing that I've read that's pretty consistent is that the AI is fairly strong in this game. They're not shy about attacking lower defense characters, even when the hero character is within reach. And I kind of like that. Especially compared to what we've been dealing in Shining Force 1. Also, I feel like I shouldn't have to say this, but enemies almost never just stay in one place forever. I'm glad that was removed. I feel like in this case, getting the first strike is a good idea. Also, I'd like to get at least a couple of kills on Wendy. I don't want to level her up too much, though. Remember when, in Shining Force 1, I kept the mage and pretty much tossed aside almost everyone else eventually? In this case, it's kind of the reverse. Everyone in this party is just fine for the endgame except for Wendy. I'll go into that in more detail as we go along. Actually, I think Luke did just fine. Alright, well, that makes things slightly easier. I'll have Wendy counterblaze to finish things off. Ah, that's kind of bad luck. Fortunately, Apis isn't that difficult to level up. But Shade had better not fall asleep here. Yeah, a lot of our characters are at the exact correct level of attack power so that they deal a lot of damage and thus get a lot of experience, but don't instant kill. Roos is not at that point, and I have to be careful with how I use him. I'm going to kind of refrain from having him attack any fresh enemies. In fact, what I'd like to do here, yes, the experience distribution has begun already. I'd like to have Shade attack this bat, leave this one alone for now, and have Sig heal Wendy. So yeah, that's my plan. This is the Game Gear version was the first Shining Force game to have different music for ally actions and enemy actions. And Shining Force 2 would expand on this concept even further. If I handle this correctly, the enemy will have 2 Blaze 1 casts, and I have 2 heals, so that should work out. That Dark Mage has Blaze 2, which is even more dangerous. So I absolutely need Apis to be on the front line for that one. Well, the Incubi are a fair bit tougher than the Bats, so I want to have one of the heavier hitters finish that off. I think Roos will be a good character for that. Yeah, that's just about perfect experience extraction right there. Not convinced that Sig can finish this enemy, but I'll double check. Let's see, 18 versus 13. Yeah, that's 5 health of damage. That's not going to do it. But I guess I might as well. Just as long as I know what my follow-ups are. And once the Incubi are down, there's not too much more to worry about. I mean, technically the Mage has more dangerous spells, but not nearly as much mobility, so it's easier to control. Oh good. I will, without a doubt, want to make sure Apis gets a couple more good hits out here. But that's not difficult. After all, Power Spears are amazing. Just don't get put to sleep again. Alright, even though the first attack was a little unlucky, overall, I can't really complain about what we've gotten so far. And as you've noticed, we've gotten a somewhat faster healing animation, although there's still a little bit too much flying around. Ooh, that's perfect. And there's no need for any sort of ROM hack to get the experience carryover from one level to the next. So that's pretty nice. Yep, and that's another difference that you've probably noticed immediately. We now have stable level ups. Most characters gain at least 1 point in the basics every level. Characters that don't use weapons, or at least use minimal weapons, tend to get better attack growth. But overall, it's usually 1 or 2 points of attack, defense, health, that sort of thing. I guess it doesn't matter. So I read that in Shining Force 3, the effects of higher difficulty levels are much more drastic. In particular, the highest one has 50% increased attack and defense. I'm not touching that one. Doing that in a no-grind run, I can't even imagine how painful that would be. Forget it. Forget it. Yeah, I think Sig needs this the most. Oh yeah, by a lot. Shade will be fine getting that next level without help. But Wendy might not be. That's a decision, alright. How many enemies are left? Okay, yeah, I don't think it'll be too much of a problem. Let's wait for Sig. What? That must have been a super low roll for its previous turn. Well, Roos, by the way, takes after Luke quite a bit. His movement isn't quite as good, but he's still going to turn out into a tough tank with great attack power. Also, I might as well use the medical herb, because I'm not holding on to that any more than I'm holding on to anything else that I'm carrying right now. Right, so as long as the bat doesn't dodge, I'll be okay. And something else that I'm sure you've noticed if you're paying attention to how things went in Shining Force 1, the impressive evasion of flying enemies has been toned down a fair bit. Okay, looking good. Oh, I already did that. Oops. It's okay. And yep, we now get full experience when a healing class uses a healing item. So hooray, that's going to make things a little bit easier for us. Oh, well, that's not ideal. But that's okay. We've gotten ideal experience from other enemies, so I'm not going to worry too much about it. Also, defense growth of 2 is something you're going to see a lot for Apis. He also becomes very tanky, unlike his father Ken. In fact, all of these characters, well, okay, these 4 characters, are so much of an improvement on their dads you'd think they were from Genealogy of the Holy War or something. Oh, gotta be careful with you. Oh, what? Hey, I just told my audience that Shining Force enemies don't do that. You gonna turn me into a liar? I don't appreciate that. Oh, okay. So they've changed how mages work just a little bit. Also, remember how I was saying this guy had better not be Hans? Well, he gained 2 points of attack on his very first level up, so that puts my fear aside pretty thoroughly. Yeah, well, okay, yes, I knew this beforehand. I did at least a little research, but still. Yes, Shade is actually an amazing archer. He gains attack smoothly and steadily, and he's really good. I'm not sure I can properly express just how refreshing that is. So in short, aside from being an archer, he is nothing like Hans. I don't know who Shade's mom was, but clearly he inherited her attack growth. Also, I'm not 100% on this, but I think that the Dark Mage might actually have its magic disabled for this battle. Because I've never seen the Dark Mage do that. And I've played through this level a couple of times. Hooray! And that's the first battle done. Also, you know that you've greatly underleveled the enemy when you get 50 experience for a kill. 48, sure, that's normal. 49, also kind of normal. 50 means there's a huge difference. Don't know why it's like that, but okay, sure. And just as we thought, there goes the boat. I know what it is about Shining Force and Ys, but this is how it goes. But hey, you know, I guess it's a good enough reason for everyone to lose their gear. I'll accept this. Now you're asking for it. Come on, you've been on an adventure before. You should know better. Oh, okay. Those were some nice moves there. I was really hoping she would join the Shining Force after that. I think she'd be a pretty decent fighter. Unfortunately, that's not what happens. Alright, I'm gonna have some more things to say about that, but for right now, we've done plenty. So let's just call it a day. We still have the battle save option, so we'll go with that. And I'll see you next time. We've had an interesting start of things for sure. I'm looking forward to any comments that might show up. Well... Until next time, later everybody!